20th of December, and really, I got no business being out here. It's wet, kind of chilly, at least the wind's not blowing, but I was over here doing a little bit of something inside, and as I passed by this one Trident Maple, I noticed the trunk and its situation, so I decided I'd cut off a branch or two so that I don't get severe reverse tapering in it. So what I'm going to do is just show you some trunks of different trees and such now that the leaves are falling and so forth. So this is basically for my documentation, but hey, maybe you can find something useful in it and enjoy that. Right here you can see these Crepe Myrtle stumps, and I've done some pre-carving in a few of these. I am allowing them to grow and to thicken up and to develop branching in the upper areas. So some of them are really interesting, like this one right here. That's really a nice trunk, and all of these are rooted cuttings. They're 3, 4, 5, 6 inches thick. And that's a rooted cutting also. And that's my little elkhorn. There's a larger piece. This I'll have to work on removing some of the upper bits here. They're so large, but again, I'll just stick those in some soil and get them to root. Here's a nice large piece right there, and there's probably 6 to 10 inches under the ground, so there has to be a lot of work on this to get it to look like something decent. But anyway, these are just Crepe Myrtles, and all of these are from cuttings, okay, not air layers but rooted cuttings. Okay, I'm going to go over here now to the Trident Maple. You can see I've got my saw and my wound dressing. Okay, that's the Trident right there, and there's a pretty good clump of branches growing in the upper area, and I'll show you this right here. That knot right there is where I had a branch that was probably 4 feet or so going that way, and the tree people that I hired dropped stuff on it and broke it. And it's so funny because I just moved this out here at the beginning of the year so that it would have as much room and space as it needed to grow that arm out. Well, it didn't work out for me. So anyway, and this is where I took off another branch, but the overall position is right here. I'm going to remove this branch, and then I'll see how things go. I'll probably cut that off also, and we'll see how it goes from there. But for right now, I'm going to put this on pause, and then I'll get that done. Well, as a matter of fact, let me just show you these trunks over here, and we can do that. We'll do it this way. All right, this trunk right here, that's a Trident Maple also, but it is a very small leaf Trident Maple. What I did with this is, you can see this branch right here. That is the regular Trident Maple that I fused onto a branch while it was on the tree. I did a fusion graft, and then I took the whole thing and put it in the ground. Now that is 5 or 6 inches across after basically a season and a half of being in the ground. and the next trunk there is also small leaf Trident Maple, and this I left in the pot for an experiment to see if I can contain the roots and to work with it from that standpoint. So what I'm going to do this spring is air layer some of this, put some fusion grafts on it also. Now, just so you know, let's say I come across here and air layer these 3 branches. That is quite all right. I cannot do 3 air layers in a row coming up this same branch, but these 3 branches here, I can put an air layer on each one of these. Also, in the upper areas, I can take a seedling and fuse it to any of these branches, as many of these branches as I want to, and once that fusion has taken and mended, I can cut those off. When the air layers put on the roots, I can take those off. So you get me? That's a lot of product, a lot of material that you can work with on one tree at one time. I've got 3 branches here. I can, or trunks if you will, I can put 3 air layers on this. Now you see this substantial branch right here. I cannot put an air layer down here and then come up here and put another air layer there. It might work, but I haven't had one to work yet, and I've tried it in the past. But I can put a fusion graft on here, take a seedling, fuse it to this, or I'd fuse it right here, and I can have an air layer right here. So that will work. So with all of these branches here in the upper regions, I will fuse, I'll take 2-inch pots with seedlings in it, up to a 4-inch pot with seedlings in it, and I'll fuse it to these various branches. And then I'll put on 3 air layers down here somewhere. And even this large piece right here, I'm going to fuse something to that, or more so up in these areas. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. I can do 3 air layers down here on the lower section, and then I can fuse seedlings into as many trunk or branches as I want to. Now here's another trunk right here that I cut back early in 2020, and I let it grow out on its own. That's 4 inches right there. Here's another trunk that is pretty straight. I might have to cut this back, but I've got two branches here that bifurcated. This branch going out to the left there took on the predominant role once I cut the top out of this, and a brand new apex started after this, so it's trying to catch up, but this actually took the predominance on this branch here. And again, depending on my mindset, come April, May, I'll either fuse something to that rather than air layer it to try to get along a lot faster, because I want to take this trunk up as soon as I can, and then we'll work with that. But this tree has been in the ground here for no more than 5 years. The area is the area below a pine tree, and I also add the mycorrhizome to the root material. This is another fusion of a Trident Maple. Okay, and let's see, so that's about 4 inches, 5 inches across, and let's see if I can get you a better look. The trunk in the back, the darker one, that is the small leaf Trident Maple, and this trunk coming out this way is the Graft with the regular leaf Trident Maple. And I do have it tagged. You can see that white tag there, and there's an orange tag. And the same here on the small leaf. I have those legitimately tagged. Now I'll show you another trunk or two. This area is full of tridents. I've got them in rows here, different stages, some on rocks. There's a little one there. The grass and the leaf material obscures it a lot, but this one is on a rock. And and you can see this trunk here. Got some nice movement in it. It's coming toward the camera, leaning this way, and then there's a branch right there going away. The trunk leans, curves to the left and then back to the right before the air layer. Plus there's another branch there coming out. So there's good movement in it, depending on how tall I want the plant to be and which direction I want it to go in. So I've got choices there. But again, now that the leaves have fallen and I'm able to get in here and to really see the trunk and the root movement, I can pick a direction, a height, and I guess you can say a style or design for this tree. See, that looks like, as I look at it from this direction, it looks like a foot, you know, with the toes being out this way to the right, and then the arch of the foot coming up to the ankle being this way. So, and then you can see the bifurcation here where this nice branch comes up. But again, for a taller tree with the kind of keep on trucking, leaning back movement up to the top, that's nice too. So I've got a choice in that. Well, lots of choices, but I've got a decision to make. Okay, again, let me show you this other trunk here. And this I really like because it's probably a chew hen size instead of show hen. So still lots of this is so close to the ground, the leaves are still preserved on it, so you can't see it as well. But that's a nice 4.5, 5-inch trunk. Yeah, there you can see that. That's nice, isn't it? That's real nice. And probably 12 to 14 inches tall as it stands now. And it has a pretty nice offset apex, but I haven't really fully assessed, and because there's so much leaf material still on here, what direction I want that apex according to the Nabari. Okay, so but lots of upshoots on the branching, so I've got choices, and that's really nice. Here, I'll show you some more trunks. That's just a little juniper that I put together on the rock. That one's sitting in a broken container, and I situated it like that so that it'll give time for the roots to set on that. It'll eventually come off of there and just be on that rock and its display. But again, let's look over here. This is a walkway around the front of the house, and I've grown these right off of the walkway And these are smaller trees to be dealt with and handled, and that's about it's about 18 to 24 inches tall, and we've got a good 3-inch on the trunk down below. I can't really visualize the nabari right now because of the leaf mold and the soil on it. But again, these were grown from little seedlings right here off of the walkway, just like this little seedling right here. You know, and actually some of them were actually cuttings. I just broke off a branch off of a tree that was sitting here already and stuck it in the ground and let it grow on its own. But again, because I'm around here a lot, I watered it a lot, fertilize it a lot, and then I break off branches to get it to develop more branches. Okay, this is an air layer that didn't fully take. I noticed some roots on it a few days ago, so when it's time for me to dig this, yes, I dig it. Can you dig it, brother? Whether that has roots on it or not, I'm going to dig it anyway. And it, like I said, it's the 20th of December now, so from this point on until the spring, I'm liable to come in here and dig this, because some of these trees are they've been exposed to enough cold that they're set that they can be dug and handled, at least repotted. And here's another nice small trunk, and it has some bifurcations on it that has to be dealt with as far as choosing and eliminating some of them, because there's quite a lot of branching in the upper reaches of this particular tree. But again, that's why I grow them, so that people can have choices, and I have the fun of seeing them grow and doing my experiments. Okay, so talking about trees and such, this is my logo tree, and this year it gets a redesign. A lot of these branches will be brought in. I've let this upper apex grow over the past 5 years or so, and so this will be brought in substantially. Okay, you can see these branches. Yep. So I did the roots on it probably 2 years ago now, and so now that everything is stabilized, I will go ahead and do the top severe and drastic cut back. I'm not sure how far I'll bring this back yet, but my point is with saying that is that from time to time you have to regenerate, reinvigorate, rejuvenate your trees. After they are so old, you really need to do that. And that goes for your landscape plants also, a lot of them. This is a tree obviously I'm working on, and that old busted up, glued back together pot. But right now it's my working display. So this is right here, and anybody and everybody can see it. And you can see the trunk of that elm in the pot on the rock. That is a Zelkova that I just wired recently, and it's on a rock. And That's a twin trunk Trident. Actually, it's like a 3 trunks. You can see that. But again, now depending on what happens with this tree in the next month or so, I will work on this. It needs to be cut back and wired also. There is another Trident Maple on a rock, and it's hard to see the roots over that rock with the moss on it, but I can visualize it in the natural, and it's clamping around the rock really nicely, so it's really affixed to the rock very strongly. It's steady. To me, this has a nice shape for a plant that I grew from a seed. Okay, so you can do that also. This tree is a root over rock, and I think I mentioned this in a video that that tree should not be on a rock, because this upper root right here just extends out into space. The rear roots are actually attached, and they have other roots coming down and around it, but there was nothing there, so I took another rock, put it underneath, and then another over here, put it underneath there, and boy, did the roots start growing this year. I mean, they were going like gangbusters. But I really like this, and I just cut it back here recently and pulled down the branches. Too early for me to wire this yet, and the branches are in such a position that I did minimal wiring, but and the wiring is loose, but I pulled down the branches, and I'm liking this a lot. There's a trunk on the crab apple. This was a store-bought crab apple, and I've grown this for the past 10 years or so, and I'm thinking about air layering some of the upper trunk to make it a smaller tree rather than this large. That tree right there is probably 4 feet tall altogether. There's another trunk right there with the long arm coming out, the long arm of the Trident, and that has a nice shape. I have to wire this. I was looking at this here recently. This branch I'll push away and down a little bit, and this will come toward me and back a little bit, and then either this, at the end of this next season, I'll be looking at cutting it down one side or the other. I haven't really fully decided which will be the final apex, or if I'll have a dual apex to create a canopy up here, and then I'll have the branches down here showing the canopy, and there'll be a separation in this area in the middle. So there's a little potbelly Trident Maple, and you can see I put some double heavy wire on that. This will be a cascade. It will be leaned into it, boy. This will be leaned over like so, as a cascade or semi-cascade, and I have to pull that apex back a little bit. I'm moving it gradually. I've already moved it because it was really way over here before on the angle, so I've already moved it back, and I need to come probably like that far, probably another inch or inch and a half back, but because of where this all is located at the apex here on a callousing over area, I have to be careful about movement. Plus this was wired before. You can see the scar right there, and I'm actually going against that on a twisting bias, so I have to move that gradually. Here's a Trident Maple right here that I'm working on. A nice movement in that trunk. This coming out to the left is the main apex, and that's the secondary branching that will fill in with the canopy, and I'm trying to get these to grow and to thicken up. And so what I'm doing is I'll come out here and flex these periodically, you know, just to basically super highlight and illustrate or simulate the movement of the branches by the wind. That's a Chinese bird plum on a rock. So anyway, those are a few Trident Maple trunks and a few other things. That's a pyracantha that I'm growing back. So for right now, I'm going to go over there, cut that branch off, and seal it, and then I'll let you see that after it. But I'll just pause this right now, and we'll be back. Okay, there we are. I've cut that off from there, and that one off from there, and it already looks better, but that will take away some of the growing in this area to cause the reverse taper to increase. The angle on this is really different. It's kind of twisting, so as we view this from this particular angle, that looks thinner going that way, but in reality the right side of that trunk as it goes around is wider in that area. So in these next few weeks or so, I'll look at this and decide how many more branches I want to take off according to how tall I want this tree to be. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to cut this off right now, you know, in these next few minutes. But these right here are some nice cuttings, and so I'll find some place to put these and see what happens. So anyway, that's just a quick little look at what's going on. I am preparing the outside area here to plant seeds, or to sow seeds as folks say. And in that area right there, I was doing some cleaning up, pulling out crepe myrtles, and I've got loquat trees in there, something that friends and other people can use. I've got some larger crepe myrtles in here that I need to pull out, so I'll be air layering and taking cuttings to reduce the size of these. I mean, these are full grown trees, and in this area is where I'll be. I've already cleared this out pretty much to plant seeds, to sow seeds, and over beneath that palm tree. But this area, pretty much everything is coming out. I've pulled rose bushes out of here, crepe myrtles, and lots of seedlings of different trees. I'll lay down ground cover fabric, that's what you see right there, and then I'll plant, you know, my Trident maples in here. The seedlings I'll plant in that side. The seeds will go in this other side. And you can see some of the seedlings right here that I grew right in that cleared area at the beginning of this season. So that's kind of the plan. I've got other areas around the property that I'll be sowing seeds in prepared areas in the ground, and I'll also be sowing seeds in containers. But again, this is my project, small leaf Trident maples, and these get very, very, very small. You see that leaf right there? You see how rounded it looks? It's very old, and this is the regular Trident maple. See that? See the difference? So, and these will reduce down a lot, but the plant itself is notorious for trying to take cuttings and have them strike. And that's why I do the air layers and the fusion grafts. So anyway, that's it. Hasta la vista, baby.